Welcome in, everybody, to race number 4 of the MMS Money Racing Little Dogs Big Dogs series. It's been a while, been about a month since we've had a race in this series. Been a pretty busy schedule in February with NASCAR starting back up, and of course the PGR 500 we had a few weeks back. But we are back and better than ever here for MMS Money Racing 4 of the MMS Money Racing Little. We are having a few technical difficulties right now, so I do apologize for a few things that are happening. But we're going to go ahead and go through your grid right now. Give me one moment. Here we are. Daniel Falkingham, Coke Series driver for Xfinity Esports, will be starting on the pole here tonight with Kyler Wynn to his outside starting in second. John Ward will be third. Scott McLean will be starting fourth here tonight. Steve Sizemore for R&R will be fifth. J.R. Miller for PGR in sixth. Hunter Hastings in seventh. Brian Hennings in eighth. James Waring in ninth. And Ron Hunter will round out tonight's top 10 starters. Mike Davenport for Team PGR will be starting in the 11th position tonight. Mark Vondell for McCullough Motorsports in 12th. 13th will be Matthew Patton. Jeremy Osborne for Blind Squirrel Racing in 14th. Todd McDuffie 15th. Terry Wilson will be starting in 16th tonight. Michael Wingo 17th. Joey Galati 18th. Joshua McCullough 19th. And Josh Giambrone is actually tonight's RC. He is not taking the grid for tonight's event. Christopher McCullough will be starting 21st. Rick Schneider 22nd. Kenneth McCullough 23rd. Logan York listed in the 24th starting position tonight. Garrett Caswell will round out tonight's field in 25th position. Jimmy Emos will not be racing tonight either. So go ahead and pull up all the starters, bring up the race info. We got a pretty big slate tonight. We got 120 laps here at the Atlanta Motor Speedway. Going to be a long race as you see the field rolling off pit road this time. Long race here tonight with the Xfinity cars, 50% fuel in the fuel tanks, unlimited tires, one fast repair, fixed setups as always, and again, 3 attempts at an overtime should we need them. I am joined in the booth tonight by Mr. Evan Carlbon and tonight's RC Josh Giambrone. We'll be tossing it over to him just in case we have any cautions, need some perspective on what the calls that are being made on the racetrack. We will have Josh Giambrone for that. But here with me now is Evan Carlbon. So what are your thoughts before we get this one started?
My thoughts are, as of recent, we've had a lot of problems with netcode in the Xfinity cars. I was seeing how these guys are going to handle any of those issues with these cars, and I'm just looking to see if we're going to have a good race, because we got some of the top contenders in money racing, and we got some of the guys that don't really cash a lot. So hopefully there's some new RSVPs to the party.
Yeah, that's definitely the hope. And like we said, that's a long race, but not very much a big field by any means here tonight. Only about 24 cars in the field for this race. I guess people busy on a Sunday night, not having the opportunity to come out and race with us tonight, unfortunately. But this is a point series, mind you, so that will have an impact on the point situations going into the championship race. The pace car is going to roll in this time by for Daniel Falkingham and Kyler Wynn to lead the field to the green flag. John Ward and Scott McLean will be in tow, followed by Steve Sizemore, J.R. Miller. The green flag is out, and we are racing here at Atlanta. Coming to complete lap number 1 here, we already saw a crash in the back involving Joey Galati in the 661 machine. We're going to go ahead and take a look at him. Very damaged right front and right rear of his race car. The yellow flag does not fly. Looks like he has some pretty significant wheel damage as well. An early incident for Joey Galati, but as stated, the yellow flag is not out, and we are still racing here. Daniel Falkingham with the lead over John Ward heading out of turn 4.
Bottom side is rolling. We got Kyler Wynn on the outside, stuck up there with Scott McLean. It looks like they're just going to be dead in the water coming off the front stretch and into turn 1. We're going to see how Kyler, who is able to get to the front of the field, can maneuver his way up to the front of the field, like I said, and how it's going to play into the race.
Yeah, Kyler Wynn, obviously someone you always got to watch out for in any race on iRacing in general. Right now, his only help out there is the 58 of Scott McLean, who is not at all connected with his bumper. And really, they're just kind of dead in the water out there. Everyone else single file on the bottom lane right now. That trioval right there, you see a couple drivers probably struggling with that. It's a very sharp apex. It is a quad oval type of oval racetrack and trioval where there's kind of 2 corners, 2 more left turns, and they are very sharp angles for these drivers to get through. And the issue is that apron that is under the trioval is kind of raised up. So it's going to kind of violent hit down and hit back up into the racetrack for these drivers, and that can obviously affect their tire wear as well. And on the topic of tire wear, the track right now looks to be pretty hot, considering this is kind of out sometime in the evening with the sunshine out. Let's take a look at tonight's weather. The track temp is actually only 72 degrees, so not an extremely hot racetrack, but these Xfinity cars will tear up tires and tear them up quick. Meanwhile, Kyler Wynn has found some help up there in the outside line in the form of the number 8 machine of Steve Sizemore, but at the end of the day, it's just 3 of them trying to battle about 8 cars down there on the bottom, Evan.
Top line looks to be surging. Kyler Wynn's giving some good pushes to Steve Sizemore, but Steve seems to be very, very loose with Kyler on his back end. It's still Kyler, Scott, and Steve on the outside. Bottom lane is rolling. They're catching up to the lap car of Joey Galati. He's going to yield high. And yeah, that's all I got, Landon, for right now.
Yeah, it's kind of just simple to speak about right now. It's a long race. We only on lap 6, about 115 laps to go, coming to 114 to go. Very long race tonight, and hopefully it's going to be a clean one considering how light tonight's field is. And so far, it looks like they kind of want to keep it clean. Lots of single file racing out back, apart from the parties of Steve Sizemore, Kyler Wynn, and Scott McLean. Kind of just stranded up top right now. I'm not sure if Scott's trying to find a way down. It looks like Kyler Wynn is going to bail and end up third in line on the bottom in front of the 4 of Hunter Hastings. And Hunter Hastings' teammate, Steve Sizemore, is now stuck out there on the outside line with Scott McLean. And they don't want to be out there for too long. Again, the tire-saving line here is the bottom. You want to try and arc these corners and arc the straightaways as much as you can in order to save as much tire as possible. And right now, those cars on the top lane, there's a few kind of peeking up in the back as well. Matt Patton I saw back there trying to utilize the top. They're just eating up their tires more than anyone else. Here comes Mike Davenport and Chris McCullough in the back of the field. They want to have a look at this thing. Let's take a peek at them. Here we are. Got some racing up here. Big push from Scott McLean to the back of Steve Sizemore into turn number 3, and now they have a lot more help. Oh, big netcode. Matthew Patton just got slammed into the wall from absolutely nothing. A brutal netcode for Matt Pat in the number 8 machine. There's pretty significant damage as well on the left front of his car. Not so much on the right side, even though he did tag the wall there. And hopefully he's going to be able to keep up pace, catch up to Josh McCullough, the number 1 machine in front of him, and continue on in this race. But most likely he's going to need a yellow flag to come out so he can fix all that damage that he just received from some pretty violent netcode out there on the racetrack. And Evan mentioned it before we started tonight's race. The netcode here is pretty bad, and it has been all week. This has been the the racetrack for the officials in iRacing this week. The A-Fix, the A-Opens, B-Fix, B-Opens, and all that has been at Atlanta, and there has been a significant amount of netcode involved in each of those races, and we're having the same issue here tonight. Netcode seems to be a pretty universal problem, and we have seen with the upcoming update that iRacing is going to try and take care of some issues with netcode and connection problems. We will see if that ends up working or not. Obviously, the hope is that it will indeed come to fruition and work out and kind of help bring some more realism back to these races, because obviously netcode's not a real-life thing, and we would like to eliminate it completely, albeit pretty difficult to do so. At the front of the field, it is just Daniel Falkingham, John Ward, and Kyler Wynn. I got a feeling we're probably going to see these 3 at the front of the field for most of tonight's event. These are 3 of the most experienced drivers in the field, and right now they're in complete control and domination of the front of this field on lap 11. On the outside line, it's Chris McCullough and Scott McLean, who still hasn't found a way down to the bottom of the racetrack. Struggling with those tires up there. You see him loose off a turn forward, trying to give a push to the 94 of Christopher McCullough on lap 12. Steve Sizemore dipping under the apron. I believe, I would assume, at least in PGR races in the past, that you aren't allowed to make a pass under the yellow line, or the red line in this case, the red and white line down there at the bottom, signifying the apron of the racetrack. I would hope that that's still the case here. We obviously don't need drivers cutting the tri-oval to try and advance their position. But I'll be honest, I'm not 100% sure on that ruling. I would assume that Kenny McCullough and Josh Giambrone would be looking out for drivers trying to cut that tri-oval and advance their position. Hopefully that is something that is not allowed. And considering we haven't seen anyone else really do it here tonight, I'm assuming that is. We have more netcode issues in the back. J.R. Miller, I just saw, was inside of, I believe that was James Waring in the number 13 machine. Lots of netcode so far, Evan. 2 instances, and maybe even 3. We're not 100% on what happened to Joey Galati on lap number 1. That could have been another instance of it as well.
Yeah, it is a big issue that's going on with iRacing, and especially with the Xfinity cars. as we have noted in past PGR races, past Dega Pro races, past RMR races, and RNR, excuse me, RNR races. Xfinity has been having a lot of bad luck recently with the netcode. So, as you said, iRacing is going to look to fix some of those issues. Hopefully, it gets figured out because then we can get back to racing this car that we all know and love so much. Well, I know and love at least. But right now we got Chris McCullough who's hanging tough on the outside with Scott McLean. They are just eating up those tires as we speak. We do have a couple cars off the pace of the main pack. Let's see who those are. We got Jeremy Osborne, who just caught back up. We got Ron Hunter, and it looks to be like Kenny McCullough, Logan York, and Rick Schneider are just riding right now, just waiting for... This is the calm before the storm.
Yeah, they're sitting back trying to save their tires. We got eyes on the 03 and the 02 of Kenny McCullough and Logan York, respectively. They have Rick Schneider, and I believe that is Michael Wingo behind them as well. Just a pack of 4 cars hanging back of this pack. They have lost quite a bit of time to the main pack. They're about... looks like 4 seconds off of the leader of the race, Daniel Falkingham, right now. Not an ideal position, but things are well in control with those two at the helm of this pack. Back up front, still just Daniel Falkingham and John Warden. You make a case for Chris McCullough and Scott McLean on the outside line. Sure, they're making progress. They're advancing rows on that bottom lane, but the detriment of that is that they're eating their tires away. Josh McCullough has now caught back up to this lead pack, and he's taking a push to the outside line, going to try and help up his teammate Chris McCullough. Ooh, Scott McLean and Chris McCullough loose right there. It looks like Scott tried to give him a little bit of a push right there into turn number 1, and it got Chris loose, and then Toad got Scott McLean loose as well in the 58 machine. That's going to probably make Josh McCullough back here not too pleased with his timing of hopping up to that second lane, but he's going to stick with it. He had an opportunity to hop down in front of Mike Davenport, it looked like, but he's going to stick it out up there and try and advance that outside line even further on lap number 18. Now, and right now it's just kind of a Sunday drive for Falkingham, Ward, and Wynn, and Hastings at the front of this pack. They've been riding that bottom lane for most of this race so far, and it's just these 3 guys that are trapped up on the outside lane that I'm honestly not sure what their intentions are here. Do they want to keep trying to advance their line forward, or are they desperately trying to find a way down to the bottom of the racetrack? Only time will tell. But right now, they're still sticking tough, maybe even losing a little bit of time since the incident between Christopher McCullough and Scott McLean. They have now dropped back to side-by-side with Steve Sizemore, who's now 5th on the bottom of the racetrack. Not a good sign for these guys on the outside line, Evan, but we'll just see how it works out for them, what their strategy is going to end up being.
I think the strategy is no strategy right now because they can't find a way to get to the bottom, seemingly. Fuel is going to start to play a part of the picture in this because we're on only a 50% fuel load, so basically we're taking the fuel tank that they have and just cutting it completely in half. Mr. Landon, you are better at finding this stuff out than I am, so how many laps do you think they can go more?
Well, considering the officials that have been run this week, I think you kind of start with a baseline of around 60 laps on a 100% fuel tank. That obviously depends on how much you can save, because you can save a crazy amount of fuel riding in the back of a pack here at the Atlanta Motor Speedway. But I would predict, obviously, since it's cut in half, around 30 laps, they might be able to stretch it around to lap 35 into a run. Time will tell again on when these guys are going to try and pit. That is a good point that we bring up pit stops, because I believe, I'm not sure, the last time we really broadcasted an Atlanta race on PGR eSports, I believe it was the PGR Light Series, race number 7, the penultimate race before the championship event, that was won by Evan Carlbon here in the booth with us. I'm not entirely sure if the new pit road guidelines were installed and implemented into iRacing yet, but if not, we'll update you on them now. You now have to enter pit road into turn 3. There's going to be a white line. We'll see if we can get a look at it here as the field comes by this time. We'll just see if we can grab that. There's the blue pit exit line, but on the right side of your screen here, you're going to see a white line on the apron. There it is, the commitment cone right there. You will have to enter pit road right there. There is no pit road speed limit, so you can go as fast as you want there, and you cannot rise above that white line on the apron. But then you will have to reduce your speed down to 45 miles an hour. We got a crash in front of the leaders here. Todd McDuffie tagging the wall a little bit right in front of the lead pack. Sounds like he's still into the wall.
Ground.
Oh, there it is. Caution
That's
number 1.
Rick
Still
Schneider's
happening.
Involved.
Rick Schneider, Jeremy Osborne getting into it as well.
Arca brakes. No.
Yeah, I never want to see Arca brakes. And I think a lot of people here that have tuned into my broadcast, at least, y'all have heard my rants on ARCA brakes in the past. So if Evan saw this and I didn't, I'm afraid we're going to hear another rant. But let's take a look at it. Scott McLean with some pretty heavy damage on his machine. Let's take this from a chopper view and see what we can find out here of what happened. Okay, so we heard Todd McDuffie into the wall. He's the number 34 purple car up there. But he's losing momentum. He does have some damage. It's just not going to start here. It's going to start with Scott McLean in the 58 coming down into James Waring in the 13. Bounce off of him. McDuffie into the wall. McLean's going to then insult to injury for Todd McDuffie. Going to hit him even further into the wall. A big hit for the 58. Mark Vondell squeaks by in the number 59, as does Joey Galati in the black and red 661. There goes Logan York, Kenny McCullough, Matt Patton, and here's Rick Schneider trying to avoid, but Jeremy Osborne is there. I believe those two are going to get away A-OK from this incident. And we got
that's
Ron.
where I saw the ARCA brakes. Michael Wingo slammed right into the back of Jeremy Osborne, giving him extensive rear end damage.
We need to go back and take a look at this, because this camera view that we just saw definitely did not catch that. Let's take a look. Here's Michael Wingo with an already damaged machine as it is. Let's back this up and take it in real time and see where he is. So he's behind this pack of Logan York and Kenny McCullough, who had now caught the lead pack. Schneider or Osborne are saving it, and then Michael Wingo rear ends the 41 of Jeremy Osborne, completely caving in the rear bumper of Jeremy Osborne. Let's see if we can switch this camera back over to him real quick. Yeah, look at that damage. Caved in rear bumper for Jeremy Osborne. A tough break for him, but I do believe he's going to be able to get his car repaired. There is a fast repair here tonight, just in case as well, so if the damage is too much to overcome, he will take that and still be a part of tonight's race. Let's take this back and get a couple more angles. We'll focus this on Jeremy Osborne again. We'll see the crash develop as the camera comes. There's the smoke, and you see Osborne and Schneider. Osborne, nothing he can do, but then again, there's nothing Rick Schneider in the 11 can do either. He's just trying to avoid the crash in front of him, and Jeremy Osborne is just there in his way, but they do a fantastic job of saving it, and then in comes Michael Wingo in the 01 machine, gonna add some more damage into this multi-car accident that we just had on lap number 23 of tonight's event. Let's go on board with, who should we go? Let's go with Todd McDuffie real quick and see what he saw in this, because he was already having some issues with his race car. You could see into the wall, obviously not handling too great for Todd McDuffie. Let's back this up and watch when he's going to, unfortunately, tag into the wall. The pride of Hoover, Alabama for Todd McDuffie, and then Scott McLean just right into his lap. A crazy turn of events where he's just already struggling with his race car, and then you have the 58 in his lap, and then you see the contact between the 41 and the 01 up in front of him. So there it is, our first caution of tonight's race, and the field is back doubled up 2x2. Scott McLean, it looks like still has some damage, might have gone in and tried to fix it. He's obviously trying to save his fast repair. Before we go back green, let's go ahead and get a call from our race control here tonight, Josh Giambrone, on what his thoughts were on that accident.
Yeah, he kind of just came down. He thought the lap car was going to bounce off the wall, and he held it in the wall, I can tell you that, but he overcorrected too much, came down and hit the car under him, and spun himself out in the end. It just didn't work out for him. It sucks. It does suck, but that's just how stuff goes, I guess.
Yeah, there it is. That's going to be the cause of our first caution here tonight. We kind of had a good rhythm going here tonight, Evan, of some green flag racing, and that's a refreshment in at least this iteration of the MMS Little Dogs Big Dogs series. But now we have one caution down. Hopefully not too many more to go. We obviously expect them. But the front of the field, the dynamic up front has changed. Daniel Falkingham is nowhere to be seen anymore. It's now John Ward and Kyler Wynn at the front of the field. Falkingham finds himself in 16th position here. Interesting pit call for the number 34 machine of Daniel Falkingham. But here we go. The green flag's back into the air. Great start on the bottom lane for John Ward and Brian Hennings. What a launch. Kyler Wynn caught completely sleeping here on lap number 27. They might clear 3 cars here on the bottom all the way back to Steve Sizemore. The jump for the 92 and the 74 is absolutely insane, and everyone's ditching Kyler Wynn except Josh McCullough coming up to his aid out of turn number 2.
Yeah, Josh McCullough and Kyler Wynn are going to be dead in the water unless Josh drops down, and he's going to stay with Kyler. Now the top is going to surge with Chris McCullough and Kenny McCullough. We got a whole family party going on here with Kyler Wynn leading top. Is Brian Hennings going to clear up? No, he's not. And Kyler Wynn He's not going to leave that lap. I thought he was going to get it.
It looked like he was going to, but isn't this kind of ironic considering the relations between the McCulloughs and Kyler Wynn as of recent? But they went up there and jumped immediately to his aid, except for Kenny McCullough backed right out of it, and he's going to find himself in the 9th position. But look at Kyler Wynn with the push from Josh and Chris McCullough on the outside line. He's got the nose over John Ward heading into turn number 3. We'll see if Brian Hennings can connect back with the 92 car out of turn 4 and give him a good push to give him another lap lead. But I'm not sure he's going to get it here or run off the top. John Ward is going to lead that lap. We're now on lap number 29 of tonight's race, and once again, there's only 3 cars on the outside line. That's kind of been a theme so far. We've had 3 cars up there, and the rest of them just kind of want to sit back and bide their time. If this was a truck series race here tonight, I do believe we would be seeing a little bit different racing, because the trucks are a little bit easier to handle than the Xfinity cars as is. You can push easier in them. You can handle them easier. They're a little bit slower, and the tires don't wear out as much in those trucks. But here we are in the Xfinity car, which is, I think in a lot of people's opinion, could be the most difficult car to drive here on iRacing, just considering how loose it can be and then how tight it can be. Handling plays a major factor in these vehicles, and they're just still hanging tough out there. The 82 and the 1, I believe Chris McCullough, he is still there next to J.R. Miller in the 78. Kenny McCullough lagging way off of this pack, kind of reeling it back in now, trying to save him a little bit of fuel. Here comes Rick Schneider in the 11 after his little incident on lap number 23. He's trying to get some track position here. On the outside of James Waring, he's going to clear him easily, and we'll see if he's going to try and get past Kenny McCullough. He will. Lots of zigging and zagging going on that bottom lane right now with Steve Sizemore and Mike Davenport. Luckily, they're able to sort it out as the field heads out of turn number 2.
Yeah, Kyler Wynn is still hanging tough on the outside, side by side with Steve Sizemore. Brian Henning giving a whole lot of shoves to John Ward, just keeping the top line at bay where they're at right now. It looks to me that Chris McCullough is getting tight every time in the corner. He keeps washing up as if it was like the Cup Series race earlier where guys were washing up in the mid part of the race. Got Steve Sizemore looking underneath Brian Hennings, but it's not going to work out. Kyler Wynn going to take the side draft off of Brian Hennings and try to surge the top line once again.
Yeah, I'd be remiss if we don't bring up that Cup Series race from earlier. Not to spoil if anyone hasn't seen it, but that was one of the most fantastic NASCAR races I think a lot of us have ever seen in quite some time. That was a truly incredible race we witnessed today in the real sport of NASCAR, and we can only hope to see if these iRacers here can try and drum up as good of a race as we saw earlier, because man, what a drive. Logan York into the wall, heading into turn number 1, tagging it right there pretty significantly for the O2 of Logan York. Probably has some damage on his O2 machine. Let's take a look. Sure enough, right front damage for the O2 machine. That is not going to be helping him out for tire saving purposes. That could give him some more handling issues, as if he didn't have enough already, considering he's driving the Xfinity car. But he's kind of just lagging behind Daniel Falkingham now. He recovers just fine from his little incident he just had, and he's probably just going to stick with Falkingham here. Oh, up front, Steve Sizemore looks like tried to make a move on Brian Hennings, thought better of it, and now we're just going to still sit in line. And now we have Kyler Wynn, 3 McCullough boys up top, followed by Rick Schneider, and now Logan York wants to hop outside as well.
Chris McCullough is splitting his own cousin to go help push Kyler Wynn. I don't know if that is a team game or if that is some part of a strategy or plan, but Chris McCullough with a huge run to come to the Kyler Wynn's back bumper. Excuse me on that part. The bottom line is still a little more organized. We got Logan York splitting Rick Schneider and James Waring 3 wide, and he's looking to take the position from Kenny McCullough as well.
Logan York getting real aggressive in that 0-2. Oh, look, Kenny McCullough doesn't like what he's seeing. He's going to hop back down to the safe line, the bottom lane right now. That is interesting for Chris McCullough to split out Josh right there. I'm not sure if that was a miscommunication, if Josh got a little bit loose. Not really sure what went on there, but now that has kind of really hurt the help on the outside line. They can hold their own out there. Honestly, if you have a good enough tire and good enough handling, you could hold your own by yourself up there on the outside line in this Xfinity car, but it's not going to help. 3 wide in the back. Daniel Falkingham wants to make some progress with Logan York. They're forcing their way forward. Now Josh McCullough, first he gets split by his cousin, now he's getting split by the rest of the field. He's getting sent to the back. And I know Josh, he's not going to be too happy about that. He's probably going to be aggressively trying to work his way back forward and show how much he doesn't appreciate how he was just treated out there on the racetrack. But John Ward still leading laps out here. Kyler Wynn hanging tough. But at the end of the day, it's contact! Brian Hennings and Chris McCullough, he's trying to save it. He's trying to save it. Are they going to save it? The field saves it. Kenny McCullough in the back spinning, and they save it again. Wow. What a save by the entire field. And I'll tell you what, Evan, this just changed the entire dynamic of this race. This changes everything because now look how separated everybody is. Mark Rondell trying to get to the aid of Kenneth McCullough on the back, but let's go through this real quick. So we have John Ward and Kyler Wynn with a 2-car breakaway of about a second on the field. Here's Steve Sizemore in third with no help. His help's coming to him in the form of Mike Davenport and Logan York. Chris McCullough with a damaged race car trying to come to his aid as well. Then it's Falkingham, Hennings out back, then Miller, McCullough, lagging way back at J.R. Miller. They need to make up some time quickly. There's Vondell in the 59. James Waring back here. Hunter Hastings kind of bridging these two cars together. There's Joey Galati as well. So these guys need to form up. They need to form up quick. This combo up front of Ward and Wynn is still ever so slightly gaining. They gained about 0.02 of a second this time by. But now, with a little bit of organization, the field's going to be able to reel them back in.
Yeah, they're getting organized. You got Steve Sizemore leading, Daniel Falkingham. You got Logan York, who's got a damaged rear end, is going to be dragging himself back unless Daniel Falkingham can get to his rear end and just push the ever-living stuff out of him. We got John Ward and Kyler Wynn still up front, like you said, and yeah, they're losing time to these guys. They got organized pretty quickly. That's pretty impressive after that immense save from Brian Hennings and the rest of the field, but that really changed the game of this race because now Kenny McCullough and Mark Vondell are about 5 seconds back off of the leaders.
Yeah, not good news for Kenneth McCullough back here, but they have a little pack of their own starting to form up, and if these guys can get organized, have some good pushing going on, they're going to have a chance to reel them back in as well. Excuse me. They are 5 seconds back, about 4 seconds back from the car ahead of them, which is J.R. Miller, but J.R. Miller himself has started losing this pack, which ends in Chris McCullough in the 94. So now these guys are single-filed back out. I believe they'd probably want to stay in line here, not try to force any aggressive moves because they want to keep breaking away from this field as much as they can. Brian Hennings super loose right there. You can tell his tires are starting to wear out on him. I believe in the tribal, that might have been what caused it. Him washing up the racetrack into Kyler Wynn. Definitely having some handling issues right there. J.R. Miller now stuck to the outside. And this is what this pack does not need. They need to get formed up. They need to get organized quickly in order to continue to break away from the field, which right now they're having no issues doing that. 5.76 seconds is the gap from John Ward, the leader of the race, to James Waring in a 10th position. He's the leader of the second pack back here, which is not at all organized once again. There's a 4-car breakaway here, and it consists of the 13 of Waring, and he's loose, and then Kenny McCullough's loose. This is bad news for this group. They are now 6 seconds behind. No organization, but then again, to be fair, it's a bunch of damaged race cars up here. You can see Kenneth McCullough, his rear bumper is pretty caved in. That's going to be hurting his handling, trying to turn in these cars, which is already loose enough, and then add the tire wear on top of it. Not a good situation for these guys in the back. This also consists of the 4 of Hunter Hastings, the 8 of Matthew Patton, who has a damaged race car. Todd McDuffie's a lap down. Michael Wingo back there as well. Mark Vondell, Joey Galati, and Rick Schneider rounds out this pack, even though those past 3 cars, the latter 3 cars, are kind of lagging back as well, and they need to catch back up to the rest of the field. Back up front, it's still just John Ward and Kyler Wynn leading the race. And about this 9-car breakaway here, the gap is now nearly 7 seconds. So with the save that we just had, as impressive as it was, this has completely changed the dynamic of tonight's race. Because we're now on lap 44. We've got like 77 laps to go in this race. But there's 2 distinct packs, one of which consists of mostly damaged race cars, and is losing time every second out there on the racetrack to this lead pack. If we get far enough into a run, now keep in mind we will be approaching pit stops soon, theoretically within the next 10 to 15 laps. This can really turn into a very interesting race, almost to the effect of what we had last race in the Little Dog Big Dog series at iRacing Super Speedway. We had green flag pit stops, and that completely separated the entire field. Now, granted, I understand these are 2 very different racetracks that we have raced at the past 2 races in this series, but the premise is the same. We now have a break in the field that is now up to 8 seconds from Josh McCullough, who's leading that line now to John Ward. And when the green flag pit stops come, that's just going to whittle down these packs even more, Evan. It's going to be fascinating to see what kind of strategies evolve from that situation.
Also, I don't remember if you mentioned this, but a new dynamic with that pit road, it's almost like turning at New Hampshire. It's going to be so flat, our drivers are going to be entering in with so much momentum, see if they can slow down enough to get their cars turned around pit road, and then they have to slow all the way down to 45 miles per hour, not like a 60 or a 55 we're accustomed to at a Talladega or a Daytona. So that also is going to throw another cat into the bag. and having this new dynamic of the race with about, what is that, 9 cars in this lead pack.
Yes.
I don't know what to tell you. A lot of hands are going to be in the cookie jar, and only one's going to come out with a cookie. So
That's a very good way to put that, especially when it comes to the green flag pit stops. And honestly, I don't believe we've really seen this yet in a PGR race of any sort that we've broadcasted here on this channel, because we were supposed to have one, our last PGR race, our Atlanta one, we had a green flag pit stop begin to happen, but then a wreck happened immediately, and that completely voided that green flag pit stop from happening. But now we're going to be able to have a chance to see how this works in the most difficult car to slow down to begin with. The tires are going to be getting shot at this point. They're going to be very hot. They're going to be a little bit worn out. So when these drivers are going to, they're trying to maximize their speed into that new pit commitment line entering turn 3, but then there's a very sharp corner without banking. As Evan alluded to, New Hampshire Motor Speedway, a track without banking. Obviously, it's not a very tight corner, but the fact there's no banking there means that you have to slow down significantly more than you normally would. Obviously, these drivers can go full throttle around the banking of the racetrack, but when it comes down to the apron, they're going to have to slow down to somewhere around, I would assume, 120-ish miles an hour, maybe even lower. I know it's going to be in third gear to try and maximize their speed, but then they're going to have to slam the brakes down without locking them up just to get down to the brutally slow 45-mile-an-hour speed limit. So we're approaching that with every lap that keeps ticking by here. And it's going to be a fascinating thing to point out. I will say the first car lap down right now is the number 3 machine of Terry Wilson, who when they lap these guys, or they lapped him, these guys lapped him, I should say, excuse me. There he is coming out of turn number 2. He was not able to catch up with this pack. That's good news for the 4 of Hunter Hastings back here, as this whole pack, which has so many more cars in it, at least at a glance it looks like, than the lead pack does, they're going to catch up to Terry Wilson. That will most likely leave Hunter Hastings with the lucky dog position should a caution flag come out. Let's go through the field really quick. 92 of John Ward, King of Dega Pros Racing himself, leading this race, dominating it with the 82 of Kyler Wynn behind him. Steve Sizemore having a fantastic run right now for R&R in 3rd position. Mike Davenport from Team PGR in the 55 is in the 4th position. Logan York with a damaged race car up here for PBG in the 5th position, followed by the Coke Series driver for 6, Karma Daniel Falkingham in 6th. Brian Hennings for Team PGR in 7th, followed by his teammate J.R. Miller in 8th. Chris McCullough sitting back here in 9th position right now. And then at the tail end of this pack is Jeremy Osborne. He is not a lead lap car. He is 4 laps down, unfortunately. So he's going to need some miracles to come his way to have a shot at this thing if he wants to get some points, get a good point stage, or even a cash spot. He's going to need some crazy chaos to start happening. The 10th position is Josh McCullough, leading this pack back here that is now almost 11 seconds behind the rest of the field.
John Ward succumbed to the lead.
Sure enough, as we're going through this, John Ward pulls out a line. Looks like he wants to file in the 3rd position. Potentially a fuel-saving measure, Evan. I would assume that he's trying to save a little bit of fuel, knowing that if he's leading the race, he's going to be using the most fuel of anybody here, trying to get back on par with the rest of guys in this pack.
Yeah, I really don't know what he's doing, but hey, it's John Ward. He's one of the best in the business. I'm not gonna ask too many questions about it, so I'm gonna let the driver talk for himself. But now that hands the lead to Kyler Wynn, who is one of the guys that has a bit of a reputation around the money racing business, but nonetheless, he's one of the best in the business as well. So I don't know if they're working together in some capacity, or if they got anybody else in their pack that they're working with as well, that they're trying to communicate on whether they're going to pit in the ensuing laps. We got Steve Sizemore running in 2nd. What a fantastic run for Steve Sizemore. He's a guy that you normally don't see running up at the front of these packs, but I would love to see a Steve Sizemore cash spot, or even a win.
You know, and it could very well happen here. At the end of the day, it's a super speedway, and anything can happen. And right now, he's having a good run, as you mentioned, for the R&R group, a new member to that team since the folding of Hyper Motorsports. Steve Sizemore went over to work with the likes of James Wagner and Chris Melton. Unfortunately, we don't see them out here on the racetrack tonight, but Steve Sizemore doing really good right now in the 2nd position behind 2 of the greatest in money racing. And as you talk about John Ward, someone that's a very patient race car driver. He knows when to bide his time, he knows when to sit back, he knows exactly when to go, and of course he can get caught up in some messes on occasion, but luckily for him, It usually works out most of the time. That's why he's been such a success. He's one of the all-time winningest guys in PGR races. And you see it on basically a nightly basis every time he races. He's just a very consistent driver, very patient one, and knows when it comes to super speedway racing, he's definitely intelligent when it comes to that. Also a tire saving man himself. He knows how to save his tire extremely well, which is a quality that you need here at the Atlanta Super Speedway. Here we come. This looks like just about everybody except for Steve Sizemore trying to come in and pit. So there's Kyler Wynn leading the field on. Here's John Ward behind. Everyone doing a good job so far. Entering into turn number 3. And trying to go as fast as possible. Oh, Mike Davenport getting spun right here into the entrance of pit lane. Going to tag the wall. He will continue in for his pit service, and that's most likely going to leave this pack with one less car to race with. So there's Josh McCullough in the back as well. Everyone else coming in to complete their pit stops. Right now, there's Hunter Hastings in the pits, Kyler Wynn, everyone else rolling into their boxes now. Having a good stop. Let's take it back to the lead of the race. Steve Sizemore stays out for one more lap. Christopher McCullough in P2 right now is coming into pit. Kenneth McCullough and Joey Galati coming in as well. Sizemore kind of playing the long game here, albeit he doesn't have much help. Here comes Jeremy Osborne to his aid. But if this continues, if he doesn't pit this time, he's going to have the entire field lapped. So if a caution... Oh, there it is, a late decision by the aid of Sizemore to come in to pit lane this time. We'll see how this works out. I'm not sure it really is going to work out for him, but look at this pack. This doesn't even look like a super speedway race. It is so separated. John Ward all by himself out here. Here's Logan York about a second back by himself. Kyler Wynn and Daniel Falkingham are together. You have J.R. Miller, Brian Hennings, and then Mike Davenport by himself. Matthew Patton, Scott McLean are together. Josh McCullough way back, all by himself. This is kind of odd to call a race like this, Evan. The pack's so separated, it's not even super speedway racing at this point. It doesn't even look like.
No, it doesn't. I've never seen a money race play out quite like this. You got not John Ward, I'm sorry, Logan York, Kyler Wynn, and Daniel Falkingham all pairing up together as they catch up to John Ward, and it looks like they're going to take control of this race, albeit Christopher McCullough is in the lead by technicality of taking a late pit stop. Steve Sizemore has succumbed to his lead, and John Ward is just going to file back in between Logan York and Daniel Falkingham.
I'm wondering if Chris McCullough did a little tire strategy here. He might have just taken only 2 tires on this stop because he came out well ahead of everyone. Oh, it gets cleaned out by Terry Wilson. Absolutely cleaned out. He's still getting cleaned out. Chris McCullough, the leader of tonight's race, and the yellow flag flies.
Wow.
Unreal. Absolutely unbelievable. Chris McCullough.
Everything.
Chris McCullough pulled an excellent pit strategy, had a 2-second lead on the rest of the field, and then he gets completely cleaned out by a lap down car. That is extremely unfortunate to see. And his night's not over. He's going to need to take that fast repair. He's struggling to try and bring it down to pit road right now. What a shame for Chris McCullough. A great pit strategy ruined that quick in turn number 3. And let's go back and see, even though I'm pretty sure we already have a good idea of what happened here, but let's just take a look and take it up to a top-down view so we can just get a little bit better angle of this. So there's Chris McCullough and Terry Wilson in front of him, who it looks like Terry Wilson, if we back this up further, Terry Wilson might have been coming out for his pit stop right here. Let's now move this forward. So he's merging onto the racetrack, and there goes Michael Wingo and Todd McDuffie around him. He's going extremely slow right here. And he's kind of riding in the middle of the racetrack, and then he just drives up and takes out Chris McCullough and then just keeps hitting him in turn 3. I mean, this is... I'm kind of struggling to find what to say here. Honestly, it's just... it's unfortunate. There's really not another word you can say because Chris McCullough pulled a great strategy and then he just gets taken out like that. It's not something to be pleased about, for sure, if you're in Chris McCullough's shoes. And I'm honestly speechless here, Evan. I'm kind of just shocked at what we just saw here involving the leader of the race, Chris McCullough, and Terry Wilson, who was a few laps down.
Yeah, I'm speechless as well, Landon. I have no words. I really have no words. Terry just straight up hooked him for no reason. I don't know if Terry and Chris have any kind of beef off the track or on the track, but I never saw anything to even provoke that. So, but this does bring a huge break for a lot of guys that got split up from that pit sequence, and that's going to put, I think, Scott McLean, Matthew Patton, and Hunter Hastings back on the lead lap. So maybe they could play some cards in this race.
Yeah, they could. We're going on board with Terry Wilson now, and he just... I mean...
Inexcusable.
I just listening to what I just listened to is that's what I'm now speechless about. Is, I mean, he didn't even let off the gas until he finally hooked Chris McCullough around fully, and look at it, he's just not really turning for the corner, and then he just now lets off the gas, and that's just I guess it is what it is, and that's really all you can say about it. Luckily, Chris McCullough's back out on the racetrack with a fast repair taken, but a tough blow for him. He is still going to be on the lead lap of the race, so his race is not over by any means, but I'm sure he didn't want to use that up too early. Well, even though we know what happened right here, let's get a word with Josh Giambrone and get his take on what we just saw on the racetrack.
Yeah, man. From my point of view up here in the blimp here, I don't know if he just missed the turn, forgot to turn, but he straight up hooked him and killed him. Luckily, none of the leaders got in that. The leaders were coming up right behind him, and luckily they didn't get hit with anything. But it's sad that Chris has to use his fast repair after that great pit stop, and it just sucks sometimes. But that's racing for you. I can say that Terry will probably not be back to this series anytime soon.
Oh, there it is. There's the word from the RC. That's it's going to be something that is worthy of a review, obviously, from the heads of MMS Money Racing, and definitely something that needs to be looked at, because that was... let's just hope that there's some sort of technical issue that went on with Terry Wilson right there, because definitely didn't look too pretty on the racetrack right there. But our second caution's down. We got Mike Davenport in the lead of the race with a fantastic start on the bottom of the racetrack. Kyler Wynn in tow. John Ward trying to pull along as well. Everyone ditching Michael Wingo, who restarted second. He is now ditched on that outside line. Logan York didn't want any part of it. J.R. Miller doesn't either. Wingo going to try and clear down fifth in line on the bottom out of turn number 2.
Bottom line is going to just keep rolling right here. It would be interesting to see if anybody's going to go to the top, as we saw in the early portion of the race. And to my surprise, we've only had 2 cautions so far. So
there's another one. Michael Wingo getting hooked in the back of the pack.
Speak of the devil.
Yeah, this is the biggest one yet. Michael Wingo, the 0-1 around. Chris McCullough luckily avoiding disaster after his fast repair was taken in such a brutal way. James Waring involved with heavy damage to the nose of his race car. Matthew Patton might have got a piece as well. And there it is. Just as you were saying, Evan, great timing. Only 2 cautions in this race, and now there's the third, and I'm afraid we're going to start having a rash of them. James Waring, as you see in the 13, trying to gain his positions back out there on the racetrack. Well, let's back this up and see what went wrong this time. Well, the first thing we saw was the 0-1 machine of Michael Wingo getting hooked from the bottom of the racetrack. Let's take a look and see just what went wrong this time. Excuse me. Let's back this up. And
not clear.
A case of not clear, according to Evan Carlbon. And what we can see here, if we can actually do this view, so Wingo looks like might have snapped a little bit loose, went high on entry, and then tried to get back down from J.R. Miller, and the spot just wasn't there. And he's going to get packaged by about the entire field behind. You saw Daniel Falkingham, 39 machine, taking great evasive action on the bottom of the racetrack to avoid what it was unfolding directly in front of him. Let's play this view again real quick and see what went on. Yes, sure enough. It's just a case of not clear, and then I'm going to pause this right here and just get a count on everyone involved. J.R. Miller getting a hit, Brian Hennings as well, James Waring obviously. Josh McCullough might get a piece. Going to tag the wall a little bit, and it continues down the racetrack with Scott McLean and James Waring further involved in this. And let's back this up and get a little view on what happened to Scott McLean here, because I did not catch this the first time around. Here's the 58. And he's going low to avoid. He's going to get into Steve Sizemore, and that's going to get him sideways and then turned up into James Waring. Granted, James Waring was already pretty killed with his nose damage. That was just insult to injury to the 13. Scott McLean looks like he's going to get away okay. Not much damage on his car. We can see at least. Left side looks all good. If anything, it's going to be on the right, but he seems to be driving all right. Let's back up. Let's go on board J.R. Miller here and see what he saw in this, because, yeah, again, it's pretty plain and simple what we just saw, but here it is. 78 of Miller for Team PGR. Wingo just comes down on him, and nothing he can do. Just luckily keeps it straight and continues with what I would assume is not much damage on his car. Maybe a little bit of right front there, and obviously some rear damage as well, but he should be able to get that fixed right up. Might need a caution or two to do that, but there it is. So the rash of cautions, I guess, is now beginning as the field is doubled back up, and Josh Giambrone, again, I think it's kind of obvious what we just saw, but not sure what you as a race controller are going to call on this one.
You know, he looks like from my point of view, he slid up the track on accident. Maybe old tires, maybe brand new tires. You never know. And he just went to come back down thinking it was clear, and J.R. Miller stuffed it in there, tried to get him to the back of the pack, and he was not clear. And that's the end of it right there.
Oh, there it is. That's the call. So just unfortunate. You know, we had a good, clean race going on. We got some green flag pit stops with some excellent strategy going on, and per usual, we get the rash cautions, and cautions breed cautions, as they say, and at the end of the day, it's just unfortunate. Sure, we'd love to have some green flag racing out here and get this one wrapped up. This is a long race indeed, 120 laps, and we are only 7 laps over halfway in this event, but the field's back doubled up 2 by 2. The pace car is going to roll off for Mike Davenport, the leader of the race, still this time. Kyler Wynn now to his outside. John Ward behind Davenport. Kenneth McCullough behind the 82 of Wynn. Now, the bottom lane usually does get a better launch, as we see right there. Perfect example. Here at Atlanta, the bottom lane always tends to launch way better than the outside, no matter who is on that outside line. And that's a perfect case in point right there. 3 cars clear of the 82 and the 03 up top. 2 of the best in the game, honestly. They had no hope out there on the outside. Kyler Wynn's going to hop back up, try to pull a little draft off of Falkingham. Logan York's going to go with him in the 02 machine. Mike Davenport still holding tough with a little bit of a damaged race car in the 55 machine. But right now, it's all clean air in front of him for Mike Davenport with John Ward behind. Here comes the run-up on the top side with Wynn, York, Hastings, and Joshua McCullough for lap number 69 here. Kyler Wynn going to get the lead. It looks like pretty handily over Mike Davenport, but here comes Davenport back on the bottom.
Yeah, look who's back up into the fray. Hunter Hastings, after losing connection and going a lap down, he's up back up to the P6 position. Or the P5 position, actually. Correcting myself. But the bottom lane is just much more organized. After Kyler Wynn gets clear of Mike Davenport, it just leaves Logan and Hunter dead in the water on the outside. Hunter's going to clear down. I don't know if he's going to let Logan back in, but now Logan just seems to be a lost puppy up on that top side.
Yeah, absolutely. Stranded on that outside line. No help until way further back in the pack in the form of Rick Schneider, who is making some good progress on that outside line without any help of his own. But he is a lapped car out here. He's 1 lap down, the only car lap down, so he wants a caution, obviously, so he can get his lap back. And now that progress has stalled for the 11 car. He's also got Todd McDuffie taking a peek at the top side, but
Mike Davenport gives up second.
Mike Davenport going to the top side, going to try and help out Logan York here. Logan York's going to split the 55. I'm not sure about this decision by the 02. I don't know if this is really going to work for him unless it does, and it does. So I'll just eat my words on that one. A good move, I guess, for the 02 of York. But obviously not what Mike Davenport wanted to see. Trying to help Logan York out, I guess, up there, and then kind of gets screwed over for it. But that allowed Rick Schneider and Scott McLean to come up to the aid of York and Davenport on that outside line. A couple more cars on the outside. About 6 cars on the top line right now. But again, you see, there is still some patience going on here. A lot of patience throughout the field. They don't obviously want to wreck anything yet. There's still 50 laps to go in the race. But yeah, I mean, this is what we have now, is single filing out all the way back to Logan York in 6th position. And I say that he hops back up in front of Mike Davenport, and now he's going to hop back down in front of Josh McCullough in turn 3.
Yeah, seemingly it looks like the outside's going to dissipate with the rear end damage of Mike Davenport. Rick Schneider's behind him. Scott McLean just drops back down, gets in line, single file. We got a couple cars going below the apron. I don't know if our RC, Josh Giambrone, is going to call anything on them for that. But, oh, we got one spinning. He saved it. Nice save, Chris McCullough.
Yeah, sure enough, but this has the potential.
One in the wall back there. I don't know who that is.
It's Todd McDuffie in the 34. Another tough break for him on the outside line, getting walled as a result of what just happened. But the field continues. No caution. Everyone saved it, gathered it back up. And now we have the same 3 cars that we saw at the start of the race leading this thing of Kyler Wynn, John Ward, and Daniel Falkingham. And then we have Hunter Hastings, as you said, he dropped connection in the middle of the race and ends up back in the 4th position, same position as his number on the race car in that SVG Wendy's paint scheme. Followed by Kenny McCullough and Logan York, 2 guys that we thought lost the draft at the beginning, but now have found their way back. As the field heads into turn number 3, not much of an outside line except for Chris McCullough trying to work his way back up to the lead of this thing after the unfortunate incident that happened with him a couple of cautions ago.
Logan York to the top side, helping out Chris McCullough. Looks like Kenny McCullough is going to go with him. No, they're going to drop back down to the bottom. They just see no runs happening as they go to the top side. Chris McCullough is hanging tough on the outside, side draft on Logan York, but that's only going to hurt both of them more. It's just up to Kenny McCullough on what he wants to do. He goes up with his nephew, and let's see how much progress they can make on the outside line.
Yep, there they go. The 03 and the 94 top side. Getting a good little push going on for those two. Not much help out back. Josh McCullough taking a peek, but he just doesn't have a run yet to help out his family members of Kenny and Chris McCullough on the top side. They're making a good little push right here. Falkingham didn't want to hop up in front of it. He's still content to just ride on the bottom of the racetrack. And now that run's might be dying out a little bit. They've got it up to John Ward, but will they be able to get to Kyler Wynn and then clear Kyler Wynn? We'll see if they are able to, but right now it's looking like it's not going to happen. A little bit loose for the 03, potentially on the outside line. And here comes Scott McLean and James Waring behind, trying to work their way back up to them to assist, but right now it's just not a lot of organization. I say that here comes the 58 with a pretty substantial run, and that will help out the 03 and the 94, but not entirely sure how this one's going to go just yet because they're just kind of hanging even with what they've got right now heading out of 4.
Yeah, Landon, you forgot one variable in this race that's left. Pit stops. We got, I think, at least one more pit stop to go, and now that's going to throw a huge variable into the equation, and to see how our pros and how our other guys that we normally don't see run at the front of these super speedway races, let's see if they could come up with a strategy to foil over the pros.
Yeah, sure enough, and we'll probably have, I would assume it, maybe 1, potentially 2 more pit stops. We'll see. But Kyler Wynn still having this thing well in hand with the push from John Ward out back. And it's just kind of even right now. Like we said, it's just 2 by 2 basically across the entire field. A good little comeback for James Waring right here. He had the nose of his car taken right off in that last accident. Here he is. Oh, Mark Vondell, very loose in the back. Good save by Mark back there in the 59. Out of turn 2. Look at that outside line. Wash up. They're not going to be needing to do that. They need to try and stay as tight to each other as possible to make their line advance. And right now it's just really not happening for them out there. You got Kenny McCullough and Chris McCullough doing everything they can. You got Kenny McCullough holding a great line. He's down there side drafting, trying to arc back up off the corners, get that push from the 94 of Chris McCullough. It's just not happening for him right now. And then we have a ton of single file racing out back. Let's take a look at that actually real quick. So this starts with Josh McCullough in the 1 machine. Mike Davenport has been shuffled back to the 12th position in the 55. There's Matthew Patton trying to go around him. Steve Sizemore, someone we saw in the top 3 earlier in the race, is now 14th. Brian Hennings back here without a hood on his race car in 15th position. Todd McDuffie back on the lead lap as well in 16th. And then Rick Schneider all the way up here is going to be the first car lap down, I believe. Timing and scoring is kind of acting a little strange with him right now. He is the first car lap down. Okay, apologies for that, because for some reason it said he's on the lead lap. But either way, he is still only the car lap down, 1 lap down, and will be needing a caution to get that back unless he races his own way back up there. And it looks like that's what he's trying to do, Evan. He's trying to get up there and get his lap back the hard way before these pit stops ensue or a caution.
Right. Kenny McCullough and Chris McCullough looks like they were making progress on that outside line, but it looks like Chris McCullough got hot. His temperatures were boiling. They were at least side by side or almost side by side with Kyler Wynn, and Kenny, who is one of the best. They consider him one of the goats of all of money racing. He was side by side with Kyler Wynn. They were making a huge run on the outside. I'm surprised that it didn't stick, but here they come with another surge from Chris McCullough and Scott McLean. Oh, Waring's in the wall.
Yeah, James Waring in the wall in the back of the pack. Looks like he's going to be okay, though. He recovers pretty well. He's still got the help from Rick Schneider in the 11 behind him. And the field's starting to kind of double up a little bit more, it looks like. And Logan York is going to hop down. He thought about going up and taking what spot James Waring did have, but thought better of it and wants to hop back down behind Hunter Hastings in the 4 machine. And he's kind of being indecisive right now. He's going to hop back up. Maybe he's going to try and hop back down in front of J.R. Miller, but he's doesn't look like he's going to have time to right here. He's kind of committed to the top side, 4th in line on the outside line. And you see Scott McLean in the 58 getting pretty loose out there on that top side. That is worse for tires, as we stated earlier. And right now, this outside line's gotten pretty organized. Now Kenny McCullough with a nose over Kyler Wynn into turn 3.
Kenny McCullough's going to side draft Kyler Wynn, and Chris McCullough's going to side draft John Ward. Let's see who's going to get the nose for the lap led today in this one. I don't know. That was pretty dang close. We got James Waring and Rick Schneider all over the place in the back. That's not helping out this outside line one bit, but we got Logan York, also one of the best in the business, riding up there in the coattails of Scott McLean. Logan York was a couple laps ago not being able to pick a lane and decide which one he was going to go into, but it looks like the outside line is the one he's going to take and prevail with. But now, like I said a couple laps ago, we have pit stops coming up, and I'm wondering when that final pit stop will come.
Yeah, we'll see. It looks like most likely it'll be a one-stop race from the end, considering they haven't had to pit yet. But now we just have
in the back.
Contact in the back. Looks like everyone's going to be okay.
Matt got into it with somebody, but they saved it, so all straight from here on out.
Now we will continue. There's the 8 of Matt Patton. Going to continue still with his damaged race car. How about Brian Hennings without a hood on his car? Still somehow keeping up with this pack. That's a pretty impressive job by him, but he needs some help here with some cautions that'll help him repair his car a little bit more. Kenny McCullough on that outside line now has dropped back to the 92 of Ward on the bottom. Chris McCullough way off of his bumper now, trying to get some air, maybe got a little bit loose. It's hard to tell, but Kenny McCullough is going to continue, get a little bit of a run through this corner, and will get one out of it, but look at the back. We're crashing at the back. Look at Rick Schneider. Oh, and he gets killed by Brian Hennings. Right as we talk about him, and the yellow flag will fly for Rick Schneider and Brian Hennings, who already did not have a pretty nose to his race car, and now adds a little bit of damage to it in the process. But this originated with the 11 of Rick Schneider. So let's take this back and see. Interesting. It looks like he's trying to get down potentially in front of Mike Davenport in the 55. Or Mike might have came up a little bit right there. Difficult to see. He does a great job saving it. And then Brian Hennings nowhere to go, and Jeremy Osborne especially nowhere to go behind Brian Hennings. But get a couple more angles of this, see what just went wrong. So let's actually zoom in on this. So here they are entering turn 3. And he's coming down. Again, Mike Davenport appears to be coming up a little bit. Might have just met in the middle for the 11 and the 55. And he's going to end up spun from it. And then saving it, doing a great job of saving it. And then Brian Hennings thinking he's going back up the racetrack. Unfortunately, did not predict the save that Rick Schneider had. And he ends up right in his lap. Same for Jeremy Osborne. In the 41 machine, there he goes by with significant damage to the nose of his race car. But, yeah, there we go. So, green flag pit stop not going to happen here, and this could turn into a fuel-saving race here, considering at what lap this caution just fell. We'll get a couple more looks at this real quick before we take you back to the live shot. I thought the crash was going to originate with the 58 of Scott McLean right there on the outside line, because he was getting super loose and super squirrely. And it did not. It actually happened behind him. Let's go on board with Brian Hennings as he watches this crash unfold in front of him. There goes the 11. He thinks he's going back up, and then just wrong time, wrong place for Brian Hennings. And a bad day gone to worse for Hennings. Let's go back live and see where Hennings is at. There he is in pit road, trying to fix what he can. See, Rick Schneider's back coming into the pits this time, as well as Joey Galati. Jeremy Osborne, here he comes, still alive in the race with a heavily damaged race car, as is Hennings behind him. They're going to continue to compete in this one, but with some pretty severely damaged race cars. The leader of the race is now Daniel Falkingham in the 39 machine, with Mark Vondell potentially to his outside, unless Mark Vondell's a lap down. That's what the case is there. So Vondell tried to get a lap back, it looked like, and is kind of just hanging at the front of this thing right now. I'm kind of confused at where. There we go. He's might be cycling to the back now. Not sure what's going on there, but John Ward is second in the race, lining up in the second position. There's John Ward. Then you have Kyler Wynn, Chris McCullough, Logan York, James Waring, a good run for him. Mike Davenport still hanging tough down there. J.R. Miller behind that. Josh McCullough, then Steve Sizemore, Matt Patton, Scott McLean, there he is in the 58. Hunter Hastings back to the 13th position. Kenneth McCullough finds himself all the way back in 14th here. And then Todd McDuffie still having a good run on the lead lap, and then Brian Hennings behind that. So it's definitely interesting what this race has turned into. It's going to be 30 laps to go when we go back to green. Only 4 cautions, so it has been a considerably clean race for the most part. It has not been a wreck fest, which is good news. But who knows, it might have already just started with the rash of cautions. We'll find out soon enough. Daniel Falkingham, the leader of the race, going to launch on that bottom side. Kyler Wynn not yet connected to him, but it doesn't matter because that bottom line just proves to be too powerful every restart here at the Atlanta Motor Speedway. But I will say John Ward did a pretty good job timing that one, but at the end of the day, it's just not enough. Chris McCullough is going to connect back to him. Ward not going to be able to go down to the bottom of the track if he wanted to. But now look who finds himself in third. Going up to the... we have an engine just expired in the back. The 8 of Matthew Patton just blew his engine on the back straightaway. Tough break for Matthew Patton, who just got his engine repaired, or his cosmetic damage repaired. Here comes Kyler Wynn, Logan York. Now on the bottom of the racetrack, John Ward now behind Kyler Wynn. Daniel Falkingham behind York. Followed by Davenport, who's still hanging tough in the top 5 of this race. And then Chris McCullough on his comeback tour. Whoa. Something just went wrong in the back. That's Todd McDuffie in the 34. Luckily going to be able to save it and continue on in the race. Logan York now with the nose over Kyler Wynn out of turn 4.
Yeah, that we're having some side-by-side racing. There's some good racing that we haven't really gotten to see all race. We did see it before that last caution with Kenny McCullough surging on the outside, but now we got a ball game, folks. Kyler Wynn versus Logan York, Daniel Falkingham, and John Ward. Let's see how this one plays out, boys.
Oh, yeah, some of the best cream kind of rising to the top of this one right now on lap number 93. Josh McCullough trying to look to the third lane. Not entirely sure why. He's not grabbing much help up there. He's going to sit back down in fourth on the outside line. That kind of hurt the outside line's momentum. But you got Daniel Falkingham shoving Logan York to the lead of that lap number 94 now. And we're kind of approaching the end of this race, and I don't think it's a fuel-saving race because these guys are racing hard at the front of this thing. A little bit of contact very nearly between the 82 and the 02. And iffy push right there from Daniel Falkingham getting Logan York sideways. Logan York undoubtedly able to handle it, although he still does have some damage on the rear end of his race car. Probably not helping out the pushing situation for Daniel Falkingham, trying to assist him forward. But so far, so good. Keeps pushing him out ahead of Kyler Wynn at the line almost every single lap.
Yeah. James Waring is in the wall. I think it's only him. But we stay green, folks. We stay green. Who is that? Todd McDuffie going to the outside, and he's trying to take some right... Oh, no, that's Josh McCullough trying to take some right rears. Oh, this is some fantastic racing. We haven't gotten to see most of the race, but we're coming down to the wire. About 25 laps to go. It's go time at Atlanta because the runs are quicker and the track is smaller. So you got to time your runs perfectly, and you got to hope you're at the end of this thing leading, or at least in second place.
Yeah, sure enough. And I will say, let me just point this out as well, that remember when Chris McCullough split Josh McCullough earlier in the race? Well, now Josh is trying to do that back to Chris. Even though he's not really doing it the right way. Chris took him through the middle last time. Josh is just trying to go out there by himself for some reason and make some progress that way. I don't think that's really a great decision to try and create a third line just yet. If anything, you want to try and go through the middle, maybe just do something. I'm not sure, but that third line never seems to work here, especially in the Xfinity cars at the Atlanta Motor Speedway. But Logan York with the push from Daniel Falkingham, still edging over Kyler Wynn. Just overpowering down there on the bottom right now. Falkingham giving better pushes to York, it appears, and maybe it's a line thing. Who knows? Josh McCullough now tagging the wall in the back. Into the wall. Still trying to get up to that third lane. There's Rick Schneider. They are approaching to lap him. Again, unfortunate for him. You know, he's on pace to be the lucky dog and get his lap back. He's actually in the wall now, right in front of the leaders. Luckily, he gathers it before anything detrimental happens at the front of this pack. Kyler Wynn getting the most lead he has over Logan York just yet. But here comes York, powerful down there on the bottom of the racetrack with a push from Daniel Falkingham.
Yeah, Josh McCullough's looking to try to go 3 wide on his own cousin. You got Steve Sizemore coming behind him. And that didn't work out too well. We got Mike Davenport, he's just been riding a quiet race. He got involved in a earlier incident with, I think, Kenny McCullough and Brian Hennings saving their race cars. And he's suffered from that rear damage the entire race. But I wouldn't count him out. He's got the experience running in these PGR money type races. And I don't know. He's also got teammates behind him. J.R. Miller and Brian Hennings, I think, is somewhere in the back. Correct me if I'm wrong. Or no, he is 17 seconds off the pace. But he still does have a teammate behind him in J.R. Miller. So I don't think they're out of this one yet.
Yeah, they're not going to be. Matthew Patton has rejoined the race. He's 17th position. He is 3 laps down, unfortunately, trying to shove the damaged vehicle Joey Galati. That's where you find Hennings, Von Dell, and Osborne at the back of this thing. Up front, still all Logan York. Now clear of Kyler Wynn. He's obviously not going to take the outside. I would not think he would try to do that at least. That would be a unique move out of Logan York. But I honestly, it is Logan York after all. I wouldn't be surprised if he tried to throw that kind of block. But he didn't choose to do it that time. And now Wynn now back even with the 0-2 out of turn 2. And it's just kind of even now. You know, Logan York got the edge that time. Kyler Wynn now getting the edge, but it's still just 2x2 throughout the whole pack, except for the times when Josh McCullough is trying to go up to the third lane with no help and try and make progress that way. And if he has fresher tires than the rest of the field, then I can make a case for it. There he goes again on the outside line. Very wide angle, and it's just nothing there for the one machine of Joshua McCullough. John Ward now riding a little bit high, maybe trying to get some temperatures in his 92 so he can push Kyler Wynn down this backstretch. Josh McCullough now out on the third lane again. Just unique moves from the one machine right now. McCullough files back in line in fourth. We're probably just going to see him do that about the rest of this race, trying to peek out to the outside, peek somewhere. Josh McCullough is one of the most aggressive drivers in the field as is. So we'll keep an eye on him, but it's still just 2x2, dead even at the front of the field between York and Wynn.
Excuse me. I had a little bit of a cough right there, but yeah, I think they're just riding to maybe about 10 laps to go. I don't even know if we have another pit stop coming because of the 50% fuel load. That might throw another twist into the equation. I've been liking to say equation a lot tonight. I've been trying to come up with a bunch of I don't even know the word. I'm blanking at the moment, but this is some good racing that I like to see. We got 4 of the best in the business, make it 5 with Chris McCullough on the outside. You got Mike Davenport and the teammates. Kenny McCullough is the best on fuel right now, pitting at lap 90, so he got a little bit of the top off of the last pit sequence. So I wouldn't count him out if the fuel comes into play as a factor.
So while you were just speaking about that, I just noticed some smoke on the backstretch, and it appears that this might have involved Matthew Patton. And while this pack continues just 2x2 pretty even, let's go back and see what just happened to Matthew Patton. He is out of turn number 2 and stops his car and tags the wall and leaves the session. So, all right, I guess we didn't have a crash. I just saw some smoke back there. That smoke was from him locking up the tires, stopping on the track. I guess he decided that his night was done. 15 laps to go now. These cars are starting to get a little bit loose. It's obviously not as tight and conformed, the lines I'm talking about now. They're getting a little bit more spread out, riding high up on the racetrack. On the exits of corners especially, sometimes middle of the corners as well. And that top line just seems to have a little bit more firepower to it, but they're just not able to clear the combo of York and Falkingham on the bottom. That Wynn might lead a lap, York's going to lead the next lap, and there's really no telling who's going to lead which one, but there might be an edge for the outside line now. Mike Davenport got loose, and now actually completely flipped that over because Chris McCullough ditched the outside line. Here comes the field to lap the 41 of Osborne. He now hops back up. Not really sure where he wants to go, it looks like, but... Oh, Mike Davenport, super loose. And they save it. John Ward now to the bottom of the racetrack.
That rear end damage is killing Mike right now on those old tires.
Yeah, that definitely appears to be the case. He is struggling with the handling on his car. And now Kyler Wynn has lost his help in John Ward. We'll see if Daniel Falkingham might hop up in front of Kyler Wynn here, and he's not. He's going to continue to be patient behind the O2 machine of York into turn 3, and now he doesn't have the opportunity to be clear because now Chris McCullough has gotten to the back bumper of Kyler Wynn. Mike Davenport riding high up on the racetrack again, struggling really, really bad with that damage on the back of his race car. York might have led that lap, but now Kyler Wynn with the edge into turn 1.
Dead even. Going into turn 1, turn 2. You still got Logan York and Kyler Wynn, who have been side by side for it feels like an eternity. Oh, Mark Vundell in the wall as they're going by him. You got two more of the Galati and Hennings as they're lapping them. John Ward has seemingly went from 4th all the way back to 7th place, 6th or 7th place, after the looseness of Mike Davenport a couple laps prior. Excuse me again. Chris McCullough is now on the outside. As we've seen, Kyler Wynn has dropped to the bottom and has taken the lead, taking command from Logan York. Let's see if Logan York and Dan Falkingham is going to jump up. Falkingham does jump up. Oh, Chris McCullough is dead loose behind him.
York choosing not to follow Falkingham up. They might get a little contact there into turn 3. And that outside line is now just the 39 and the 94 of Falkingham and Chris McCullough. Steve Sizemore is trying to work his way back with a push from Hunter Hastings and Kenneth McCullough out back 5th in line on the top. But right now is just Kyler Wynn has returned to the lead of this thing. But Logan York's in a pretty good position right here. I do believe he is because he's got someone on the top side that has been a good pusher to him so far the entire race when they have been together. And if it stays as it is right now with Falkingham up top, York might try to go to the outside if he gets a good enough run to where Kyler Wynn can't block the run, at least in a clean way, then Logan York might have a shot at this thing. Contact Josh McCullough and Daniel Falkingham. Falkingham kind of losing a lot of time right here on that outside line. Now John Ward's going to have a look at maybe hopping in front of the 39. He's getting a run back up on the top side. And if there's ever a time for Logan York to hop up, it's now, but so far he's just employing patience once again into turn 3.
And it's not something you ever see from Logan York. He's usually one of the more aggressive ones that we see out on the racetrack. Steve Sizemore and Josh McCullough make contact. They save it. They keep it together. That's only going to hurt the outside line unless Chris McCullough gives a huge shot to Daniel Falkingham. Kyler Wynn's going to...
Oh, contact! Hunter Hastings around to the back of the pack. Kenneth McCullough as well, and the yellow flag will fly with 8 laps to go. Only 2 cars involved. And looks like a pretty clean crash, if you can say that. Hunter Hastings with some damage in the back, but interesting. So 8 laps to go. 5th caution, only the 5th caution of the night. Let's go take a look at it. Take this up from the blimp and see what went wrong here. This is focused on the 03 of Kenneth McCullough. Maybe trying to split the middle. Hastings comes down on him, but Scott McLean's on the bottom. That bounces Kenny around, and it just ends up hooking the 4 of Hastings. And then McCullough nowhere to go, saves it, but then T-bones Hunter Hastings as well, and luckily they will continue into the race. So, small couple of spins in the back of the pack interrupts this little 30-lap run we were having, and now it's really go time, Evan. If there's ever a time for the cautions to come out, it's now.
Cautions do, indeed cautions. As Larry Mack has always said, it just happens. It really happens. You never know what's going to happen in super speedway racing. Cautions breed cautions. I can't stress it enough. We'll see if any any big breaks are going to be given here. Brian Hennings is the lucky dog, I believe. He was the first car only 1 lap down. Kenny McCullough is getting his service, and so is Hunter Hastings with some rear damage. Kenny McCullough had some front end damage. But now these guys are going to fill up on fuel because I have no idea if fuel is going to play a factor into any of the leaders.
Yeah, I'm not sure. It very well could, especially if we start going to overtimes. Let's take this back live, actually, and see if any pit stops have occurred. It does not look like they have. So that's good, I guess, for the sake of fuel, but you would also expect nobody to come in and pit this late into the race. You see Steve Sizemore down there on the apron trying to save every bit he can. Mike Davenport came into pit road potentially to repair some of his damage. Take a look and see it. Still pretty beat up back there, but who knows? He just might need a few more seconds of damage repair to fix that right up. But he's going to be taking it from the 11th position. Todd McDuffie, a good run for him. There he is in the 34 machine in the top 10. Scott McLean, some trouble early. He's worked his way back to 9th. J.R. Miller in 8th. Been kind of quiet, but he's been here the entire race, says Miller. He's just kind of been hanging around and now finds himself in not exactly an ideal position, but a very good position to be in with 6 laps to go in the race. Steve Sizemore up in front of him. Josh McCullough up in 6th. John Ward getting shuffled back to the 5th position throughout that run. Chris McCullough up to 4th. And then the combo of York and Falkingham. And then Kyler Wynn, the leader of the race. So we're going to restart the race with 4 laps to go, with Wynn and Falkingham behind the pace car. York and McCullough behind them, and Ward and Josh McCullough behind that, undoubtedly going to try and make some moves. Let's get a word with Josh Giambrone. I haven't spoken to him in a minute because it's been a pretty clean race. But Josh, what in your eyes, what happened right here to cause this yellow?
Just self-clearing again. It looks like all these guys are just self-clearing off everybody's nose, and it was kind of that. I mean, it was a close call there. He was clear for a little bit, and then Kenny finally snuck in there under him. Not sure if Netcode had a part there, but he definitely had a tiny bit of his front clip in there, and it kind of just bounced him off. But just a whole lot of self-clearing going on this race, you know?
Yeah, and it's kind of expected. It's a difficult racetrack. It's a very tight, narrow racetrack on top of that, whereas things like that could very well happen and happen pretty commonly. But we got a race to settle here. We got 4 laps to go. With some of the best of the best. J.R. Miller blinks out. That's not a good sign for J.R.
He's back.
He is luckily back. But he does not need that to happen again. Trying to take this restart from the 8th position. Wynn, Falkingham, York, McCullough, Ward, the top 5. As they head into the restart box, look for Kyler Wynn and Logan York to get a good jump on Daniel Falkingham here. And actually, wow, what a well-timed restart by Dan Falkingham on the outside line. Chris McCullough as well, very formed up on that outside line, almost more than the inside line was. I'm kind of surprised about that, Evan, but Kyler Wynn still, with a shorter way around the racetrack, is going to clear Daniel Falkingham out of turn 2.
Yeah, if Logan York can push not Daniel Falkingham, excuse me, Kyler Wynn clear, expect Logan York to jump up, being one of the more aggressive ones, like I said in the previous laps before. Oh, Kyler Wynn, that looked like netcode bumper hook almost. Kyler Wynn got up into Daniel Falkingham. I do not think that was on purpose by any means. Kyler wouldn't usually do that. But Logan York looks like he's going to clear now. He might jump up to the top. Let's see if he does.
There is trouble in the back of the pack. It looks like Mike Davenport got a piece of the wall once again, but now there's 3 cars clear down there on the bottom of the racetrack. Logan York and John Ward are clear. When are they going to make the move? You know it's going to happen. York kind of teasing it right now. He's not going to do it yet. He needs to make sure John Ward is clear to go with him. But then the question becomes, will the 92 of Ward go with him? And he's waiting a little too late now because Falkingham's now to the right rear of John Ward. And can Daniel Falkingham get a push on that outside from Chris McCullough? We will see. 2 laps to go here at the Atlanta Motor Speedway. The field heads off to turn 2 with Kyler Wynn in the lead.
Logan York jumps to the top side. Oh, he's a little loose after getting a push with that rear end damage. Josh McCullough is now going to get behind John Ward. They're going to be he's going to be side by side with his cousin. Oh, Ward is spinning. McCullough is spinning.
They're trying to save it.
Wall. We got a huge wreck.
There's a huge wreck. We take the white. The yellow flag does not fly. Logan York, Daniel Falkingham, the leaders of the race, with Kyler Wynn in 3rd position. Logan York has now pulled away. I'm surprised the yellow flag did not fly right there. Falkingham trying to get a run with Kyler Wynn. Will Logan York block it? Sure enough, there he goes. He's trying to block. Not good enough. He turns. Kyler Wynn back to the bottom. York blocks it. Falkingham down. We're all crashing.
Logan's going to save it.
Logan saves it. He's still going to continue. Here's Steve Sizemore up into the second position. What a move. Here comes Sizemore on the bottom of the racetrack. Logan York at the line. Oh, Kyler Wynn.
By a nose. Over Logan York and Steve Sizemore. What a finish.
I don't know what I just watched. How did Kyler Wynn just come back and win this race? It looked like Logan York had it in toast. How about Steve Sizemore in third? What a finish for Steve down there.
Good run, Steve. Good run.
R&R. What a finish for Steve Sizemore. You love to see that. Kyler Wynn, the winner of tonight's race. Logan York.
That's a big confidence boost for Steve.
Behind him, sure enough, it is. Kyler Wynn, your winner in the 82 machine. Let's go back and take a look at everything that just happened, because this was an insane turn of events. So, I know if anyone's going to be displeased with what just happened, it's going to be Daniel Falkingham. So here's the initial little incident. Let's take this in slow-mo when the camera flips back over. There it is. Falkingham to the outside. York with the block. Not good enough, but then Falkingham's loose. Looks like Wynn's going to hook Falkingham into Logan York. York sees that coming because Wynn comes back down, then York down, Wynn back up, and then Wynn just cleans out Daniel Falkingham in the 39. So this might be under review, since he did turn Daniel Falkingham into Logan York there. Look at the run from Steve Sizemore out back. Look at this. Down to the apron of the racetrack. During Kyler Wynn up there. But then Kyler Wynn, Logan York kind of falls asleep right here. Let me back this up one more time. Not blocking the top side. So you can see right here, York down on the bottom, and Wynn just gets up there. And York, I'm kind of surprised. Logan York's usually very hyper-aware of blocking somebody, but then a little speed match going on, and Kyler Wynn by a nose over Logan York. I am surprised, but we will need to wait and see if he is indeed the winner of tonight's race, because as I said, he did cause an incident with Daniel Falkingham out back. But let's back this up once more.
Well, Landon, I got something to say. We got our 3-wide finish that we were supposed to get tonight.
Yeah, there it is. We didn't get it in the NASCAR Cup Series race like we should have, as you said, but we do get it in the MMS money race, so that's good news right there. But I want to take a look at one more thing first. I want to go back to the white flag and see what went on here and see if there was going to be any more EOLs assessed with this massive incident that just happened with 2 laps to go. Let's see, take this from way up, and doesn't appear to be. It looks like maybe John Ward might have washed up into Falkingham. And then everyone else just loose and spinning, and then the big one happens in the back. Big crash in the back of the field. Then we'll take this back up front. Unfortunately, I don't really have a photo finish camera that we can use. But let's zoom it in real quick. On the 02 and the 82, yeah, Kyler Wynn is coming up cleaning out Falkingham. Falkingham into the wall. Look at Steve Sizemore on the bottom. And then the run to the outside of Logan York in the 02. We'll see if we can pause it right at the line. Not quite yet. There it is. Does have the nose over Logan York, but again, we will need to wait and see. If Kyler Wynn is the winner of tonight's race. And before we do get any word on that, because we will need to confirm with our race controls in the session, let's go ahead and go through the total final results, at least as of now, the unofficial results for tonight's race. Unofficially, Kyler Wynn the winner of tonight's race in the 82 machine. Logan York in second. Steve Sizemore with a podium finish. John Ward for Dega Pros Racing in fourth. Daniel Falkingham in fifth. Mike Davenport sixth. Hunter Hastings in seventh. Josh McCullough in eighth. Kenneth McCullough in 9th, and J.R. Miller in 10th. Scott McLean finishes 11th. Todd McDuffie up to 12th. Christopher McCullough, a tough break for him in 13th. Rick Schneider, 14th. Jeremy Osborne, 15th. Brian Henning, 16th. Joey Galati, 17th. And Mark Von Dell will be 18th here tonight. 19th place will be James Waring, the number 13 machine for Blind Squirrel Racing. Matthew Patton in 20th. Michael Wingo, 21st. Terry Wilson, 22nd. Ron Hunter, 23rd. And then Garrett Caswell, I guess he was supposed to be in tonight's race, but unfortunately did not turn a lap. Neither did Jimmy Emos, and Josh Giambrone ESA was tonight's race controls. Only 23 cars out here on the racetrack tonight. But we're gonna take a short break here and see if we can get some word in with what the officials in the tower are going to say about this finish we just had here. We do need to confirm that Kyler Wynn is the winner of tonight's race. We're going to step away really quick, and we'll be back soon with final word and some post-race interviews here at Atlanta. Welcome back to the Atlanta Motor Speedway. We're kind of in a holding pattern right now, but what we're going to go ahead and do is speak with our third place finisher, Steve Sizemore, at least unofficially in third place. Steve Sizemore, Landon, and Evan in the booth. Do you have a copy? Steve Sizemore, Landon, and Evan in the booth. Do you have a copy?
I do, sir.
There he is. So, terrific run for you here tonight. Honestly, a great run and something that warms the heart. You know, kind of an underdog finish on the podium here tonight, at least unofficially. It is not yet confirmed. There is some issues with passing under the yellow, but there's also issues with Kyler Wynn. So we don't know yet. But as of now, you are unofficially in the third place finishing position. Go ahead and walk us through your race here tonight. You had a really good run. You were up front for most of it. And you come home, at least for now, on the podium.
Yeah, that was a fun race. It was fun running up there in the front. I had a couple hiccups in the pits, but I was able to overcome it. There at the end, I just picked to go low, and I'm glad I did because the car came back down off the wall. I would have ran right into him, but I guess they're saying I passed under the line at the end there, but I just kind of felt like I got pushed down there. Well, we'll see what they say. Anyway, man, it was fun up there racing with them guys. It's getting better every week I do it.
Yeah, definitely. It's good news for you. And a case could be made that you were trying to avoid the crash. It's similar to like when Denny Hamlin a few years back at Talladega, someone gets thrown up into the wall, and he kept his win when he passed under the yellow. So, not really sure what we're gonna do here. We do have Josh Giambrone down there trying to give us some updates. But for now,
Absolutely.
it's a great finish for you, and hopefully it does stay this way.
Yeah.
Go ahead and give out some thanks and shout outs.
Yeah, I'm Josh McCullough. He's my teammate in this. We worked really well today, and that was great. Just everybody in the field. I just really enjoy racing with these guys and have a lot of fun.
There we go. That is the word from Steve Sizemore, unofficially our third place finisher here tonight. Congrats again. Thanks for talking to us.
Thanks, buddy.
So there we are. And I do see Josh Giambrone in the waiting room. I'm going to see if we can pull him up and get a word with him, see if he has any info for us. Josh Giambrone, are you here?
Yes, sir.
So do we have any updates on what we're doing here?
They're still reviewing it. They have 5 incidents to go over.
Wow.
So
Ooh.
I'm not too sure what the call is gonna be. I'm not even sure what they're reviewing at this point.
Hey, Landon and Josh, what's a little money race without a little controversy, eh?
Yeah, exactly. It's almost every single race that we do, especially these days. But since we do have that, I guess I'll go ahead and drag you back down. And if you do have any updates for us, let us know.
Perfect.
And we are going to now bring up Logan York. Again, unofficial. This is all unofficial. Let's see what he has to say about the end of this race. Logan York, Landon, and Evan in the booth. Do you have a copy? Logan York, Landon, and Evan in the booth. Do you have a copy?
Yeah, what's up?
So, unofficially, emphasis on unofficially, you are the second place finisher here tonight. You had a interesting race at the beginning of it. You were kind of lagging back almost 4 seconds behind the field and had some rear end damage the entire race, but you come home with what is, as of now, a second place finish. So go ahead and walk us through your night.
Yeah, at the beginning, I came into the session really late, so I started like in last, and then I was saving tires, and then I was gonna go to the front, well, as close to the front as I could for the first pit stop, and then I got wrecked twice. I got wrecked by 34, and I also got wrecked by Michael Wingo. And then after that, ended up in the front. I don't remember how, to be honest. I think it was like pit stops and just having good pit stops. I got to the front and stayed up there, saved as much tire as I could. And I was really hoping that caution wouldn't come out when we had like a 3-car breakaway. That'd been pretty cool. But yeah. And then the end of the race, I'm a complete moron because I was so focused on Steve. I was not really paying attention to Kyler on the right side until the very end. I should have done what Kyler would have done to me and just like put him in the wall. But I don't race like that. It's all good though.
Yeah, it was. I did make mention of kind of an oversight, kind of what I thought in your opinion, because usually you're the first to kind of throw a block like that, and all of a sudden it was Kyler Wynn on the outside coming home as of now the winner of the race. But you are still in with a shot at winning this race, so we need to kind of hesitate on that.
Kyler's not losing that spot, by the way, because he didn't. Buckingham finished in the money, so Kyler's the official winner. Yeah.
Okay, well there we go. So as the word from Logan York, Kyler Wynn will be winning the race here tonight. So. The thing I want to ask you is that rear end damage that you had throughout the entire race. How was that affecting you in your handling in this race? Because obviously the Xfinity car is already loose enough as it is, and then add some damage on top of it. Was it really affecting you that much, or was it kind of manageable throughout the race?
Yeah, I didn't really feel anything. I never really got loose this race.
Well, there you go. The tire saving was definitely perfect for Logan York out here tonight. Well, go ahead and give out your thanks and your shout outs.
I want to thank you guys for broadcasting. I want to thank everyone that watches the broadcast. Thank MMS McCullough boys for putting this race on. I want to thank my teammate Scott McLean for not being in the VC with me until the mid part of the race. I'm just kidding. He's cool. I want to thank. That's pretty much it.
Well, there we go. That's Logan York. Congrats again on your finish. Thanks for talking to us.
Of course. Have a good one.
Yep. There we go, Logan York. And now we'll bring up Kyler Wynn in the 82, who, again, like Logan York, that is true what he said, but these things do have a tendency to go either way. So we do believe Kyler Wynn is the winner of the race. We're going to go ahead and speak to him. And for any further updates, stay tuned to the MMS Discord. where there will be updates on any potential penalties out of this. But we're going to go ahead and speak to Kyler Wynn right now. Kyler Wynn, Landon, and Evan in the booth. Do you have a copy?
Yep.
So, interesting race. One that was kind of dominated by you, Logan York, John Ward, Daniel Falkingham, it seemed like, for most of this. And you do come home the winner of it with wild finish towards the end, where it did appear there was some contact with Daniel Falkingham, but Falkingham does end up in the money. So, by what we would believe to be MMS rules, there was not going to be an AOL assessed to you for that, since he did still finish in the money. So, congrats on your win here tonight. Walk us through your race. Was it just kind of easy for you out there, just kind of dominating with the tire saving and everything, or at any point was there a struggle here tonight?
Oh yeah, I mean the whole last 30 laps was really annoying. I got stuck on the outside there from like lap 90 to 110 until we had that yellow. The top lane was just unable to get clear at any point in the race. I got clear once, and it was a miracle because we had some draft from lap cars. I don't know why, if it's how this thing drafts now, but it was really hard for the top lane to get clear. So I knew I wanted to be on the bottom to finish that race out, and it was looking pretty good there until they all died on the white flag, and Dan and Logan lined up to go around me.
Yeah, that was
either way going into 3, there was that. I saw a hole on the bottom. Logan covered it, went to the middle, and when I started to make that move, I knew Dan was going to try and close it, but I was already committed to making that move. And when I tried to turn back down the track, I just went straight. No malice intent there. Obviously, I raced with Dan and Logan a lot. I wasn't trying to wreck him. It was just a tight situation. You know, Dan's coming down to cover it. I'm, trying to fill that hole, obviously, because I'm going to try and win the race, as I always do. But either way, we didn't really wreck. No harm, no foul, you could say, I guess. That's what Kenny thinks of it, I guess, because it's not being reviewed. And honestly, Logan should have won that race. I don't know how I got that run. John came with a huge run and gave me a lot of momentum coming to the line there, and just beat Logan.
That is true. It was a very late block, if you can even try and call it a block, from Logan York. Not to try and downplay his efforts here tonight, but he said in his interview he was too focused on Steve Sizemore on the bottom of the track, completely forgot you were there, basically, and then all of a sudden you're getting past, and he tries a speed match, but at the end of the day it wasn't enough. Go ahead and give out your thanks and your shout-outs.
Yeah, just the team and factory setups on the car. Great sponsors. Thank you. And you guys for broadcasting. I'm going to watch it back later on, but I'm sure it's phenomenal, as always.
Well, there we go. We appreciate that from Kyler Wynn. Tonight's winner. Congrats again. Thanks for talking to us.
Yep.
So, Evan, strange race. I think I can kind of chalk this up to not a wreck fest. Like mentioned, there was only 5 cautions, so relatively a clean race for 120 laps, but a chaotic ending, and one that kind of had like a favorite going into this. You would expect Kyler Wynn to obviously be up front and be a factor for the win in any race that he's in, but it definitely didn't look like it. It looked like it was all going to be all for naught down there in turn number 3, and then somehow he comes home as the winner of the race. And then let's just shout out Steve Sizemore once again. We mentioned, I think you, Evan, mentioned it earlier in the race, is like someone that you don't really see up here that often, someone that's been trying to work on his craft and get better, and he comes home, the effort's paying off, not quite with a win just yet, but a 3rd place finish and a podium for him here tonight. A fantastic run for Steve and the R&R boys. I'm sure they're going to be celebrating that one tonight. What are your thoughts on what we saw here tonight?
In the wise words of Landon Veleke, those first 117 laps were a typical race I'd expect. Those last 3 laps, in the wise words of Landon Veleke, garbage.
Yeah.
Garbage. But I am so happy for Steve Sizemore. Like I said, he's one of those guys you never really get to see finishing up at the front. He does have an R&R heat win, I will say. He did beat one of the pros in a heat win, so I've been noticing his craft as of lately. Even if his ruling gets overturned, I am still very happy to see him succeed and come with a whale of a run coming to the line, even if it doesn't work out. But all in all, this race was far from what I expected. I thought this race was going to be a little bit of a mess in a way, but I'm proud of these boys for keeping it all together in one piece for the most part. We only had 5 cautions for 120 laps. Had some good strategy calls. We had some hit or miss moments, but Yeah, this was a pretty good race. I give kudos to all those MMS boys.
Yeah, 100%. Definitely a fun one to sit here and broadcast here tonight. And next week, I'm going to actually pause real quick. Let me pull up the schedule for the MMS Little Dogs, Big Dogs season. So next Sunday night, we will be back at the Bread and Butter Talladega, 75 laps in the Truck Series, which probably not going to be, I don't know, an early prediction, probably not going to be too exciting when it comes to the Truck Series, considering how much those trucks parking lot these days, but you never know. Those trucks seem to produce great racing, and sometimes they produce parking lots. So we're just going to have to tune in and find out then, aren't we? Next Sunday night, back on PGR eSports for the next chapter in this season of MMS Money Racing Little Dogs, Big Dogs Championship event. Well, I am Landon Veleke, and for my co-partner in this event, Evan Carlbon, I appreciate him coming up into the booth with us, and Josh Giambrone doing the job of RC and sticking up in the booth with us once again as well. Shout out to Kenny McCullough for being the host of MMS Money Racing, Josh McCullough as well, all the McCullough boys involved in this. Congrats to Kyler Wynn for winning tonight's race, and we appreciate all of you out there for tuning in and watching. Tune in next week and throughout the rest of this week into the PGR eSports YouTube channel for more money racing very nearly on a nightly basis. So if you need to get your fix, you know where to go for that. Thanks again for watching, and we will see y'all all next time. We hope you have a very, very good night.